In the wildlands of Montana Territory in 1884, a young woman named Clara believed that true love was not found in the saddle of a cowboy, but beside the fire of a blacksmith's forge. When her father said, "One day a cowboy will win your heart," she quietly replied, "I'd rather it be a blacksmith." But she never knew that a humble blacksmith named Ethan would soon change her life forever with his kindness, courage, and unforgettable actions. Before we begin this heartwarming old Western tale, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories from the past. Part 1, 400 Words. In the year 1884, deep in the wild lands of Montana Territory, where endless grasslands met the rugged mountains, Clara Bennett lived with her father on a small family farm. Life was simple but hard. Every morning began with the sound of horses, the smell of fresh bread, and the distant calls of cowboys moving cattle across the open plains. Clara was known throughout the nearby town of Red Creek for her gentle heart and independent spirit. Many young cowboys admired her beauty and hoped to win her affection, but Clara never cared for fancy words or brave stories. She believed a man's worth was not shown by how fast he could ride a horse, but by how he treated others when no one was watching. One evening, as Clara and her father watched a group of cowboys passing by their farmhouse, her father smiled and said, "My dear, one day a cowboy will ride into this valley and steal your heart." Clara laughed softly and shook her head. "A cowboy may know how to chase cattle and survive storms," she replied. "But I would rather have a man who knows how to build something lasting. I'd rather it be a blacksmith." Her father smiled at her answer, thinking his daughter was simply being stubborn. But Clara truly admired the strength of a blacksmith. The patience required to shape iron, the courage needed to face the flames, and the dedication of creating something useful with his own hands. A few days later, Clara traveled into town to buy supplies. While walking past the old wooden buildings, she heard the powerful sound of a hammer striking metal. Curious, she followed the noise and discovered a small blacksmith shop at the edge of town. Inside stood Ethan Cole, a quiet man with strong hands and a calm presence. His face carried the marks of hard work, but his eyes showed kindness. Clara watched as he carefully repaired a farmer's broken tool. Instead of demanding extra payment, Ethan simply smiled and told the farmer, "Everyone deserves a little help when times are difficult." Those words stayed with Clara. Later that afternoon, she brought her father's damaged horseshoe to Ethan's shop. As he worked, sparks flew from the glowing iron, lighting up the dark room like tiny stars. Ethan spoke politely but never tried to impress her with empty promises. For the first time, Clara wondered if the man she had always imagined might not be a cowboy riding across the plains, but a humble blacksmith standing beside a burning forge. She left the shop that day with a strange feeling in her heart, a feeling she could not explain, but one that told her this meeting was only the beginning. Part 2, 400 Words. The cold winds of winter arrived quickly in Montana Territory, covering the fields and roads with a thick blanket of snow. The small town of Red Creek became quieter as families stayed close to their fireplaces, waiting for the harsh season to pass. But even during the coldest days, Ethan Cole continued working inside his blacksmith shop, keeping the fire burning and helping anyone who came through his door. Clara often found reasons to visit the shop. Sometimes she brought tools that needed repairing, and other times she simply wanted to see Ethan working at his forge. She admired the way he never complained about his difficult life. He worked from sunrise until sunset, yet he always found time to help neighbors who were struggling. One snowy evening, Clara's father, William Bennett, traveled into town to deliver supplies. On his way home, his wagon wheel broke on a lonely road, causing the wagon to tip over. The heavy load trapped him beneath the wooden frame, and the freezing wind made every moment dangerous. When word reached the town, Ethan did not hesitate. He grabbed his tools, mounted his horse, and rode into the storm. The snow was falling heavily, and the path was almost impossible to see, but Ethan continued forward because he knew someone needed his help. After hours of searching, Ethan found William lying beside the broken wagon. Without wasting a moment, he jumped down and used his strength to lift the heavy wooden frame. His hands shook from the cold, but he refused to stop until William was free. "Why did you risk yourself in this storm?" William asked weakly. Ethan simply replied, "Because a neighbor in trouble is not someone you leave behind." Those words touched Clara's father deeply. When they returned home safely, Clara watched Ethan sit quietly near the fireplace, refusing praise for what he had done. She realized that the qualities she had always admired in a man, honor, courage, kindness, and loyalty, were all standing right in front of her. Her father smiled and said, "I spent my life believing a cowboy would win your heart. Maybe I should have been looking at the man who was building one." Clara laughed softly, her eyes filled with happiness. Months later, when spring covered Montana with wildflowers, Ethan stood beside his forge and asked Clara to share her life with him. She smiled and answered, "I once wished for a blacksmith. I never knew I was wishing for someone like you." And from that day forward, their home became a place of love, strength, and hope, a reminder that true hearts are not won by grand adventures, but by quiet acts of kindness and a love built to last.